Hello and welcome to my brand new podcast. I'm Nicky Raby and I'm thrilled that you're joining us. I do lots of things. I'm an actor, coach, writer, speaker and a mum. And in my coaching work, I work with creatives, personal brands, freelancers and small businesses. In this podcast, I want to talk about success, but not in the traditional sense. I want to bring you conversations that discuss success, what it means, and how there are many different versions. We're going to be talking about business, branding, becoming visible, saying no, saying yes, and how you can create a thriving portfolio career doing more of what you love and less of what you don't. Sometimes there can be a certain mystery around the online world, so I'm going to be asking my guests how they started and grew, how they get paid, how they stand out, and how they create success on their terms. As always, please check the show notes for all things we mention and come and say hi over on social media at Nicky Raby or via my website nickyraby.com/podcast. In today's episode, I talk to Danni McCabe, who is the founder behind Mama Tribe. As a supporter of small business, shop local and the Instashop boom, Danni is committed to supporting women in business and helping to connect mamas with resources that will help their business to grow. Her motivation behind Mama Tribe was firstly to help others through the challenges of setting up and running their own business, to promote independent brands and businesses set up by mamas or for mamas. I think it's a fantastic resource. The directory is wonderful as well, so go and check it out. I love chatting to Danni. We talk about so many things, like the time where her ex-business actually burned down, which is a terrible, awful thing to happen, but how she has used her buoyant personality to get back on it and to try something else and to try something new. I really admire it, so I hope you really enjoy the episode too. Hi Danni, how are you?
I'm not bad, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. So, just to kick us off, tell us about who you are and what you do.
So, I'm Danni and I run Mama Tribe, which is an online community. It's a directory on a website that basically focuses on promoting women in business, whether it be a brand or whether it be a service. So there's actually 2 directories in total, and the brand one has all different types of retail businesses, and then the directory one has services that can be anything from somebody offering classes or workshops through to events, group meetups, and then other business-to-business type services, so accountants and web designers and so on. So yeah, that's what the business is. That's what I do.
Amazing. And how did it come to life? How did you have the idea? And take me back to that time of, pen and paper and going, ooh, this could be good.
Okay. Well, it's kind of two, you know how sometimes your life just kind of naturally seems to filter in a direction and you suddenly end up there and you go, this is where I was meant to be going.
Yes.
Because there's a few little things that happened. First of all, my last business that I had was a retail business on a high street in the town I live in, and it was a wedding shop, and that burnt down, which kind of kickstarted me down a whole different route, because having a business that's retail with bricks and mortar and everything meant that I was very much stuck in that shop, which I absolutely loved the business. But being in there, I suddenly realised actually I hadn't got the flexibility I thought I would have running my own business, because I had to be in the shop and I had to be in there all day Saturday and stuff like that. And suddenly it didn't fit around family life like I thought it was going to do. So it burnt down. Unfortunately, there was a electrical fire in the flat above my shop, so it wasn't, anything dodgy.
Gosh, I remember you saying this at the Mama Tribe first birthday, and everybody just did like a proper pantomime kind of reaction, because that is like...
It's kind of one of those slightly shocking sounding stories.
Yeah.
It was full on at the time, and took over 16 months for it all to be kind of come to a close and wind down and so on, be sorted out. It was a long process, so you wouldn't choose to go through it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it gave me a natural ending to that business. Well, not natural. Well, it was an ending to that business.
Ferocious ending.
It then to do what I wanted to do, which is have something more flexible. And that's, the realisation that came off the back of that. Plus, I'd gathered all these different skills and all these different contacts. and you can maybe hear my dog barking. And so I already had like a community of people that I was able to then, with my next idea, kind of tap into that community. So that was really useful and helpful. But then when I had my second little boy, I was off on maternity leave as such, sat around looking through Instagram, and I was loving all these bits and pieces I kept coming across, and all these new shops, all these small brands that I found. And I just found it really hard to remember the names of all these different businesses. And there was no easy way for me to search for them. So I basically came up with this idea that, well, wouldn't it be great if there was some sort of way that you could go on to this place and find all those brands that you've come across once or twice before, and know that you can always go back and find all these different individual unique brands. So that's kind of how it really started. It was literally from being on Instagram, seeing all those businesses and thinking, actually, I can make a directory that will help people be able to find these businesses more easily. Because particularly when the type of business I'm talking about are, the mums that have started something from their kitchen table whilst on maternity leave type of thing. Yeah. And they may have developed into a much bigger business already, but it was to really kind of help those ones that are, really starting out be seen more easily. Because their little website so maybe wasn't
as well. Because sometimes you don't necessarily have a huge marketing budget, but also something that comes up for my clients all the time is like, oh my goodness, because I am behind the brand, I'm going to have to put my face on the internet and say stuff out loud, and that can bring up all kinds of insecurities or crisis of identity or confidence or something. So having something like Mama Tribe going, yeah, we think you're great, and effectively sort of promoting you is wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, what I found as well with a lot of these small businesses, as I started to speak to people, was that they had maybe got a skill, so they were able to maybe to create something or do something, but they didn't necessarily have all the skills that you're needing to run a business on your own. And they also didn't necessarily have the confidence as well. So by bringing everybody together, you naturally create a community where everybody can kind of support one another, whether that be, this person finds out about that brand and buys something from that shop, or whether that brand finds out about that service and can actually use that person to help with their marketing in some way or other. So it was for me about connecting businesses and connecting women together so that they could all support each other and work together and really just thrive and grow. And, this whole sort of industry can be bigger and stronger with all women there together. Yeah.
Absolutely. Have you always had that sort of side to you, kind of growing up, of, bringing people together and supporting and holding space for people?
I suppose, yes. When I look back now, this is what I was meaning about how you kind of realise all these things come together. Because now looking back, partly when I had my shop and being in the wedding industry, I used to do kind of styling events where I would put on an event in my shop and invite all of my clients, all my brides, but I would invite in like a local florist, a makeup artist, a photographer, stationery creator, and create like a little mini wedding fair within my shop for my clients, but by connecting everybody. And then I also did some kind of networking events for just industry, different wedding industry people, just to kind of create a group really, so that we all had people to kind of fall on or ask questions, or it might end up being that we'd all share the same bride, the same client as such. So I did naturally kind of network in that as well. And then going prior to that, my husband and I we owned a health club in central London. And so my whole role there was basically managing the club, and that included managing the membership. And I suppose it all started back in the day when I used to do members parties and get everybody together through that. So I've always been one of those people, I suppose, that does connect people. I put people together. And I've also got a lot of ideas bouncing around. And as soon as I chat to somebody, I generally get quite enthusiastic, and, I'll be giving, a billion ideas, whether you want them or not, about what you could do. So I suppose it is just kind of very much naturally how I am. And now I've been able to evolve that into a business, which is, great fun.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And what do you do because you are such a supporter and a cheerleader for other people, what do you need to do for yourself to kind of keep that sense of enthusiasm and energy topped up?
Well, I think it's hard for any person in business, particularly when they're running a business and got a family. So it is tricky. I suppose I'm quite lucky. I am quite buoyant. So I I am one of those type of people that I do bounce back. So even when I have a day full of anxiety or nerves, or, you know, just feeling like I haven't got the energy, I generally know it's going to pass within a day or so, and I can bounce back. I think it's partly because, again, my imagination kicks in, and I'll come up with another idea, and that'll be my way. But I mean, I think, you know, like everybody and anybody, I get down and I get very tired. And I think one thing I've learned in the last year more than any other time before, and I suppose just because of time of life now as well, with children, 2 children and stuff like that, I'm having to take more time for me.
Yes.
And I hadn't ever really had to do that. Hadn't really had to think, I'm going to have to take time out now. And that's something I've had to do, in the last year.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's interesting because sometimes our days can just be so sectioned into windows of like, so I need to do this, and then I need to do pick up at this, or post the birthday card, or go and get the Sainsbury's shop, whatever it might be. Other supermarkets are available, but it's that sense of you're so time squeezed, and every bit of daytime or nighttime hours needs to be kind of taken up. But yeah, you're so right, that sense of actually taking some time for you to recharge your batteries, I used to just automatically do, but there's nothing like a bit of sleep deprivation to kick in, or one of your kids being ill, or something like that you're like, wow, I feel like I've been run over by a bus.
Yeah, exactly. I think as well, I've never been really one for hobbies, but actually making myself get out the house and go and do something that's completely unrelated to either children, family, and my business. So we've got a puppy, and she's, just going out with her is great for me. I love kind of clearing my head, feeling the fresh air, being out the house and just having that escape, for 30 minutes. As it is, it tends to be where I tend to do all my Instagram stories whilst walking the dog. But it's quite nice. At least I'm meant to be having a break. I get the fresh air. But the other thing I'm doing is I've started dancing again, which is, an old passion of mine. And I didn't think I'd ever really pick up on again, but it's just been
too.
really
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely love it. And I get so excited about having to go, like getting to go again. Literally, we've been off for 2 weeks for the Easter holidays. I'm gutted, and I just want to get back doing it. It's something so, I don't know, liberating. I feel so free doing it, and it's just really nice to be able to do it. And I didn't think I'd ever dance again.
Yeah.
So no, that's one thing I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's a real sense of escapism as well, of, that whole thing of like dance where like nobody's watching. I really try and do that, because otherwise if I start, like, this is why I like hot yoga, because usually the mirrors are so steamed up that I'm not looking at myself, and I'm also not looking at anybody else go, blimey, how's she doing that? What am I doing? And then I end up kind of doing the splat on my face kind of moment, because I'm too busy gormlessly comparing myself. So when you were thinking about your branding and starting to pull together a visual representation of your brand online, how did that process work for you? And what, I guess, could you share that would work for other people who maybe would say, well, I'm not that creative, or, say, for example, somebody's an accountant and they're thinking, well, I know how to do all the Excel stuff, but I'm not quite sure how to pull that together as a brand.
Yeah. Well, for me, when I was choosing kind of the colours and the style, I mean, first of all, obviously the name kind of shapes things a little bit. So I knew kind of Mama and Tribe and stuff like that, a certain look and feel I wanted, and the market I was tapping into. But I didn't want to go down the baby mumsy route at all. I didn't want to have it in any way kind of cutesy. I wanted it to be more sort of fashion forward and on trend, and something that can kind of evolve as well. So it wasn't too just babies and mums, because I'm also chatting to women that aren't mums in some cases, and I've got dads involved as well. So even though it's Mama Tribe, it needed to kind of be something that could change. And in terms of branding and design, I did have a look in my head, but I did quite a lot of mood boards, actually. I used Pinterest loads. So even though I was just playing with the name idea to start with, obviously Tribe is in there. So I played around with all the different kind of, loads of different images to kind of see what worked, what resonated with the kind of ethos behind what I was putting together. Using a mood board and working with a good graphic designer that can help you kind of work through all your different ideas, and actually put that into something physical that reflects that. So when we kind of we went through millions of ideas, but when we actually, got that sort of text down, it fitted, it was right, it was everything I needed it to be. And then in terms of kind of how I create, say, my Instagram profile, again, I've stuck to a theme and a look and a kind of a message that I'm trying to get across. And I suppose, having those kind of key ideas and working with those. So if you were an accountant, for example, there's no reason why you can't have, a whole sort of branding effect that runs across everything, all across different social media platforms, but also, just in your message as well, because there's, some really good brands out there already doing that are businesses that you wouldn't think would be that interesting to necessarily look at on Instagram, which is very, very visual. But there's no reason why you can't be visual like that. And I think it's, for example, tapping into a few key themes, having a good color palette, working with some good graphic designers, just to kind of bring all of your ideas together, bring out your personality, and then to help you get your message across. And everybody's doing it slightly differently. And I think that's important to kind of tap into your personal style and be true to kind of what you're trying to reflect, get your message out. So don't be kind of too pressured by what other people are doing as such.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because sometimes I feel like Instagram can become a little bit samey sometimes, or suddenly you see a trend and then everybody kind of hops on and go, oh right, okay, well that seems to be working, I'll do that. And I think really sticking to what like I always say it to clients, that even if it is a new business, you're never starting from scratch. You're coming to the table with lots of the different elements of, stuff that you've done before. And I think your brand is very sort of, like, I always think it's very uplifting and buoyant, as you said. And, it's got like kind of like party colours as well. So the fact that you've had that exercise background, that doesn't sort of surprise me at all in that kind of way, because I can see it and I can feel it in the brand.
Yeah, I think it does. I think if you've got it right, it does reflect you and all the different elements of you and your experience going backwards. And I think what's nice is that when you are your brand, you can also talk about your experiences, and there's different layers to you. And if you're being genuine, then you can kind of slowly over time kind of use all of that and bring it all out and let people see it. And then people are going to invest in you more because they can see you're genuine. They believe what you're talking about. It's not just a gimmick or a one-trick pony. That it really is you and your uniqueness that is coming through. And it doesn't matter what your business is, whether you're an accountant or whatever. It could be, you can do that, I think. Yeah, it's
so true. I love that sort of sense of behind the scenes as well. Like whenever somebody, I don't know, is like, I love that when I was a kid, like wanting to be an actor, anything like behind the scenes, or like if they on Going Live in the 90s, if they suddenly visited the set of Grange Hill, I was like, I am all over this. I love this. But I think we all have that kind of curious nature to us as well. So I think you're right, just not feeling like you have to just sell one thing. Like the whole holistic package is quite interesting. I mean, I don't need to film myself getting out of bed in the morning. Nobody needs to see that. But, stuff like where you work or what you're into, it's all good stuff. And I'd love to know more about the Mama Scouts and why you decided to do that, and how you kind of found it sort of managing other people. I don't think I've spoken about this much about in the podcast, because lots of people are sort of a one-trick pony. How has that experience been?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had the experience of working with people, managing a team. So back in my gym days, I had a team of instructors, teachers, front of house staff, and so on. So managing people, kind of keeping everybody, boosting morale, and getting people to kind of work so that they're wanting to do it and they're enjoying what they're doing. It's kind of something I did quite a lot of work on it when I was at the gym, actually. So bringing that forward to where I am now, I knew that one of the aspects of kind of spreading the word for my business, and also because it's a national community, I needed to be able to have people in different areas that could, reach out to other businesses in their area. So, it'd take me forever to try and figure out, what businesses are up in Nottingham,
Yes.
I could potentially, have involved in my tribe. But if I had a person that, was maybe on maternity leave or working for herself and going into co-working spaces or going into soft plays or kids, classes and workshops, they would already know of the other things happening in their area. So it was kind of a natural step to be able to kind of gather this tribe of people around the country that could basically work with me as sort of ambassadors. And the reason, the Scout, it all kind of ties in with the name for Mama Tribe. And it just seems like a really natural thing to do. So then when I kind of put it out, I was absolutely, dumbfounded by the amount of amazing sort of CVs as such that I got through. I was getting a whole variety of ladies across the UK, literally Scotland right down to the tip, down in Cornwall. And they were lawyers and teachers and web designers and people that have been in media and TV and literally everything you could kind of think of as a background. Most of these ladies were on maternity leave or were trying to set up their own business, and they really liked the idea of joining the tribe and being involved in its growth. So I think I had literally about 32 people that I managed to shortlist it down to, and they were my original kind of team of scouts in the first kind of 4 months as such. Just
like the X Factor. You are going to boot camp. You are not.
Yeah.
You are not a good enough scout.
Well, we had like this great little team, and literally I had I had a huge map, and I did stories of me literally trying to put little dots on the map so I could figure out where everybody was, and then give everybody their area to work in. And we had this WhatsApp group where everybody would chat and chat about how they approached people or what they needed to do and stuff like that. But also what was important to me is, I didn't want to just kind of use people and their time and their skills. So actually everybody earned commission. So from day one, every kind of person that they forwarded to me, and every person that signed up to become a member from that, the Scout earned commission on every sale as such. So for me, it was about giving an extra bit of income and something for that person, the Scout, to achieve. And it worked really, really well. I've changed it all slightly now because I've got this relaunch of the site happening soon, which has got a whole new load of different features and stuff like that. So it is going to change slightly, but I'm going to be launching, after I've launched the new look site, I'm going to be launching a new version of the Scouts, and the role is going to slightly change. So it's something I want to continue to do, but yeah, it will be changing slightly.
Fantastic. This is great. This is so good. And what are the day-to-day things that really help you to move your business on and accelerate it in a way that feels good? Because I think sometimes, especially if you're running your business like in nap times or the available childcare that you have, what have been the things that have really given, that acceleration, I guess, and really changed things for you?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I suppose one of the biggest things is being passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah.
So when you're passionate about it, it means that you can literally work any hours, which is good and bad because you can burn yourself out. But when you're passionate, you want to continue doing it. And so I will put the kids to bed and then, basically just crack on and start answering emails in the evening. And then I'll start coming up with a new idea and I'll start working on that through till midnight, which isn't always great, especially when your children wake up at 2 a.m. thinking about a nightmare or something.
Oh,
but it's just, it's that passion and drive that keeps you going and gives you the energy to work through different hours like that. And I'm not very good at having a great structure. I'm not one of these people that, has certain things I do at certain times or anything like that. So I tend to pick and choose what I can do when I can do it. And literally, if I want time with the kids, then I'll just disappear off with the kids. And if I've got something to crack on with, then I'll get my husband to help me out and I'll crack on with the work thing. So there's no kind of set routine for me as such. Nothing I'd say that particularly strongly works, but I think it's just having that kind of passion for what I'm doing that keeps driving me work through different hours.
I think there's sometimes a bit of a false glamour about leaving the 9 to 5 and setting up your own gig, because it kind of sounds like, oh, now you're never going to have any of the issues or the mundane things or the tough bits or the challenges or the unexpected things that you may have had in a corporate role, for example. But I think working for yourself, and from my personal experience, it brings out all kinds of other things that I definitely wasn't anticipating when I sort of went all in with this. And you're always learning and evolving and figuring it out and hoping for the best and trusting and then winning and then losing. And it's a bit of an emotional roller coaster.
It is. I mean, in many ways, okay, yes, I can be flexible in terms of I can choose not to work during the day and work in the evening as such, but you actually end up giving, I think, a lot more hours, because you don't really have that luxury of kind of turning off and switching off whatever and going home that night.
Yes.
Because, for a lot of people like me, then your business, you're running it from home. And so obviously in a lot of it, you're on Instagram or whatever, and you're on your phone, on your laptop, whatever. And it's very easy just to continue to not have those boundaries. I mean, it is something I'm trying to do more, is to actually choose to switch off and actually, go, okay, that is enough. And I can put that to one side now and I'll come back to it tomorrow type of thing. But I think that's the hardest part actually, is that because you don't have the structure, then it is very easy to kind of get yourself suddenly stressed out by it all, because you're not giving yourself that time off. And also the problem as well is, like I kind of touched on before, you're maybe running your business and there's aspects of that business that you're doing, but you've never had actually any training, you've got no experience. So I work with a lot of people, I chat to them and I put them in contact with different people within the network directory. So, they've got a retail business as such, but they've never actually done their own bookkeeping or accounts or end of year and stuff like that. So they're suddenly, flapping around going, what do I do? What do I do? And so that's what's great, is that actually I can now connect people. And even for me, it's about outsourcing. Know what your strengths are and your weaknesses are and outsource. So, using somebody like a virtual assistant to help you with the more sort of mundane sort of bits of work, the admin side of it that maybe you're not getting on top of, or keep it staying on top of, or an accounts person, bookkeeper, or even web design, or somebody to help with your SEO if you're not so comfortable with that. So for me, that is the biggest thing, and I think for a lot of businesses it's the challenge, is knowing you've got suddenly so many hats on and so much to do, but actually what are you best investing your time in, and what actually could you budget to actually have somebody else doing for you. So
totally. I kind of came up with that analogy the other day of like, there's a reason why the pilot only flies the plane, that he's not there like serving the snacks beforehand or checking you in or putting the bags on the carousel thing. He just, or she, like, come on, what am I doing? I'm all about women and equality, but like he or she is totally all about they just need to drive the plane, and they need to use their expertise in the ways that they need to. And that really struck a chord with me, because I was like, why am I doing this? And also as well, sometimes when you know your weaknesses, you always know them because, like you say, you're behind on them, or it's the stuff that you dread, or the stuff that just takes loads of time and it really doesn't need to. So,
exactly. So what I've actually done with the scouts, actually, some of the original ladies that were involved as a scout, they've actually kind of now moved up to sort of working in HQ as such. So all, located in our own homes, but they're all working with me as like my main team. So what I've got now is different people doing different aspects. Some of the stuff that needs to be done daily or weekly or monthly, that I can actually hand over to somebody else, so that I can concentrate on obviously moving my business forward, or concentrate on the things that only I can actually do, that are a bit more sort of personal to the business, that I need to be, I have to take control of. So different aspects, like some of the blogs featuring features that we have going out, somebody else can schedule them for me, or some of the social media stuff that I have on the diary, and I know what's happening on different days of the week, month. then somebody else actually can schedule that for me. And, having different people help with things like SEO and tap into my website and help with little bits and pieces as I want to evolve it, rather than me sitting there doing all those sort of things, means that, I can now focus on moving my business forward. I've got the headspace and the actual time to think about other things.
Yeah.
So my next thing to do is to take on a bookkeeper personally, because I'm just not getting my own accounts sorted, because I hate it. It's the one thing I can't stand doing.
And like my stepdad is so like I was talking to my brother about this earlier. Like he will look at a spreadsheet, he will immediately see stuff. He'll be excited if he finds something that is slightly gone awry or whatever. And I'm just looking at it, and I was good at maths at school, but I'm just like, there's things that I would be rather doing, and you can't say that to the tax man, clearly, because we're all grown-ups and have to do the right thing as well. Where would you I guess what do you do when you feel like you're having a down day or you're having a challenge? How do you get back in the saddle, as it were?
Well, weird thing is, since launching my business, I've also personally had one of my toughest years. And so I've been constantly battling with that, highs and lows, with so many things going on. And I think it is just having to sort of take a deep breath, take a step back and go, okay, I need time out. And that's it. Yes. And like literally guilt-free, just literally, close down your computer and go off for a walk or whatever it might be. Because if you don't kind of self-manage and give yourself that time and that space, then nobody else is going to do it for you. So that's one thing I've really learned. And something that I'm going to continue to sort of invest in. I think it is something when you, as a mum and a full-time mum and a business owner, it's just one of those things that you're going to have to manage and look after yourself.
And I notice also, if I don't set my own boundaries, nobody else is going to. And sometimes it has been that moment of me sitting on the living room floor kind of crying like a lunatic. And, Matt, my partner, will suddenly have to look at me and go, oh my goodness, why has it got to this moment of you still going and, not shutting down? And I don't know if it is because, like for me, when I had a kid, that suddenly I just had all these, my brain was in overdrive all the time. So even when people were saying, sleep when the baby sleeps, I'm like, no, I'm going to have a shower. Or like I would be excited about working on a new business idea or something. So I do know that it makes sense to sleep, but sometimes it's kind of not what my head wants me to do, but I'm sure it would benefit for it. I'm sure. Where would you...
Never been very good at that.
No, I know. It's so tricky, isn't it? Where would you like to be in 5 years' time? In business or in life, or a combination of the two?
Well, in business, I've got certain things that I know I want to achieve. I know where I want to take Mama Tribe. I know sort of my intention of what it can be and what I can do with it. And so I find it hard sometimes to take the small steps, because in my head I'm flying to, the bigger things that I want to be able to reach and achieve. For me at the moment, it's kind of making sure I make each of those small steps and take the time to get to where I want to go. And definitely within 5 years' time, I want to have got to that point. I want to succeed in various things and tick them off the list in business. Personally, I think for me and my family, it's, the little ones, they grow up so fast, and it's making sure that I am actually present and I'm actually doing things with them so that I don't look back and regret. Yes. So taking the time, I have got this, position that I am able to work for myself. I'm able to work from home. I'm able to, go and pick them up from school or go and watch them in a, whatever end of term service. So to make sure that I'm doing those things. And that was one of the big, actually, things that I realised when the shop burnt down. I'd realised what I'd already missed of my little boy, he was only 10 months when I set that up. And my biggest regret was literally the day after that fire. I sat in my driveway in tears. My friend, who had coincidentally turned up 2 hours before we found out about the fire, was luckily there to help me through it. And she came out, she goes, what's wrong? I said, I just feel so awful because it's not really, yes, the business is gone and yes, it's going to be an absolute nightmare to sort out. I said, but I feel like I've lost that time with my little boy. So I set that up when he was 10 months old, and literally the business was there for 3 years. And in that time, obviously, he'd been in nursery and I'd been working. And I'd set it up because in my long-term plan was that I'd have an established business for when he started school, and I'd have something for me when he was in school. But what I'd actually done was miss out on a huge chunk of his, little toddler years that I couldn't get back. So now, looking forward, over the next 5 years, I've got a 3-year-old and almost 8-year-old now. And I just want to make sure that I'm doing as much as I can with them and, enjoy my business, enjoy what I want to do for me, but also make sure that I'm definitely involved in their life and doing things with them so that I don't have any feelings of regret.
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel any better that I'm having these conversations with women all of the time, and there's always moments where we feel like we've fallen down, or we didn't do this, or we should have done that, and it's hard. And if anybody else says that it isn't, they're lying, or they're very rich with staff who make their breakfast and contour their face, because it's tough, and these things don't happen overnight, and it's sort of going back to the X Factor, that sort of overnight sensation. Well, I just don't agree with it. I feel like you've done hours and hours of training and working and thinking and pondering just to get to where you are right now. So watch this space. If somebody's like listening to this and they're thinking, ooh, this sounds like the kind of thing that would be really good for me and my business, what should they do, or where should they go?
So basically just drop me an email or come via, direct message via Instagram or Facebook. So anytime anybody wants to reach out and just maybe ask questions, find out more, it's completely inclusive. So it's, any business can sign up and become part of the tribe. And once you are a member, then basically you'll be involved in the member side of it, where we've got a forum and everything, private conversation for everyone to, share tips, advice, chat. So you'll come to me first of all, find out what you're interested, what you're doing, what your business is. I'll find out what it is, and then as I say, anybody can really sign up. And then we've got at the moment quite a simple sign up setup at the moment, but what's going to be happening, the changes are that we're automating a lot of it, so they will actually be able to go onto the website, read all the information, and basically sign up there and then. Hopefully from the end of this month.
What a treat. And when you get those emails just say somebody has just signed up, you'll be like, oh, I've got, look how many hours I've got to play with. What a treat.
I know. I mean, it's quite crazy at the moment because literally from day one, I've got over 180 members, and every member I sign them up from scratch myself, and I upload their profile, and if I see any changes or if I see that they've got something going on, I'll say, oh, send me your new logo or send me your new collection and stuff like that. So it's massively time consuming, which I've loved doing because it means I've really got to know, my first 180 odd clients.
Yeah.
But moving forward, to let the business grow, I need to have a bit more free time to be able to actually go ahead and kind of, expand what I'm doing. So we're going to be automating the whole login sign up side of things, which will be great for members because then they can actually log in and update their profiles as and when they want to, add, links to tickets and events or workshops or whatever it might be. So it's going to be brilliant going forward.
Amazing. Brilliant. Well, Danni, I've loved chatting. I think what you're doing is amazing. And I know for me as a business owner as well, like you're such a support, as are all your scouts. So it's like that Taylor Swift thing of like, I don't know what they call them, but it's like these kind of the fans and you do feel that, that sense of the tribe, and because it can be really lonely or tough or challenging and exciting and brilliant and exhilarating and all those things, but there's a lot of components into running your business. So the fact that there are people out there like you going, go on kids, you can do this and we are right behind you means the world. It really does.
Oh no, it's lovely. I think I've been kind of surprised myself by the amazing community of women that have come together through all this. And when we have had the opportunities to get together in real life, then it's just amazing. Actually, you feel like you've known these people for years, and we genuinely all do get on, and there is that real genuine support for one another, a cheerleading sort of thing. So no, it has been quite amazing actually to see that develop in such a short time.
It really does. And when I came to the Mama Tribe first birthday party, it was like, I came on my own and I left with a family of people, but there were so many people that I knew online or I was introduced to, and it's so nice to be in that community where people are willing to be open and to share and to be accepting and of what you're doing. So brilliant. Thank you so much. If people want to come to your website, where should they go?
So it's www.mamatribe.uk.
Perfect. Brilliant. Thank you, Danni. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to hear what you thought of the episode and share any takeaways with me. Come and find me across social media at Nicky Raby, or you can visit the podcast page, nickyraby.com/podcast.